free model building mockups. Let's look at the simplest way to design and build a model rollway building. Hi modelers, I'm Chris, the modeler at ABR Modelworks. The problem we all face is where to start. Most of us don't have design skills and have trouble visualizing and describing what we're looking for, especially when it comes to adding a scene with buildings and details that tells the story of your model railroad and gives it purpose. In this video I'll show you the simplest way to design and build an eye-catching model railroad building that you can place on your layout and play around with it until you're happy. And of course it's free. The Modular Model Building System design templates are free to download, and the only cost to you are a few pages that you'll need to print out, some cardboard and some glue. So you'll be able to make as many mock-ups of buildings as you like and place them on your layout. In fact, you could populate your whole layout before you even start building your own building. Or you could just simply do it scene by scene or module by module. Now this video is the first video in a new series of videos aimed at helping you build your model railroad. So subscribe so you don't miss out. And of course ring that little bell icon. Now stick around to the end, as I have an exciting incentive that will help get you started. Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to make a mock-up of 3 buildings starting with Michael's Freight Depot. So this is one that I've already done, but I'm going to use it as an example of how to lay the panels out in the first instance to choose the parts that you want to work with. Next I'm going to start and do a design for a new kit that we're about to release called Slim's Warehouse, and I'll lay all the parts out for that on the board, and we'll go through the exercise of making a mock-up much the same as this. And then the third building that we're going to talk about as far as making mock-ups and designs are concerned is TONTON's chocolate factory. This is one of our clients who wanted a 6-story building for his layout, and I'm going to talk you through the process of how we went from the initial design concept idea to this particular 6-story mock-up. Okay, for those of you that are new to the channel, this is a quick overview of the panel system itself. So the Modular Model Building System is designed around a series of panels that have different size openings that you can put roller doors, windows, brick inserts, entranceways, etc. The panels come like this in 1, 2 to 6-story panels. There are full width panels and half width and also quarter, and they simply slot together and you glue them in place to make up a wall, and then from there you add your walls together and put a roof on it, and you've got yourself a building. You can mix and match in any combination you like. You can also have stepped buildings, so single story with 2-story or more, all the way up to whatever height you like, because the system itself also can be stacked on top of each other. So you have an endless range of possibilities of what you can do. Now to finish them off, there are cardboard pilasters for the joints on the walls. You can make the walls, the joints smooth just by using some filler. And you end up, once it's all put together, with a building something like this one. Now of course, part of the building process is to finish the building with paint and other details, etc. And typically you will do that in various stages throughout the build process. But this is the same building as our original mock-up that we made out of the parts, and what we're showing today is of course how to make the mock-up from the panel templates and cardboard, so you can populate your layout to see how it's going to look. So let's get started on making the mock-up for Michael's Freight Depot. First up, I suggest you download the Modular Model Building Systems template list. So you can choose which panels, panel inserts and 3D parts templates you want to use in your building. Then cut out the template pieces. So here are some of the templates that I'll use for Michael's Freight Depot. Okay, so I've now cut out all of the pieces from the templates, so they're ready to be laid out on the grid. So first I'll start with putting down the pieces for the end and the front face. Okay, so I've laid out the pieces for the front wall, these 3 pieces here, the 2 end walls, and the back wall. So those panel pieces are all in approximate position of where they'll be. Next, I'll start filling them in. So we have a roller door on the end, we have an office door and 3 windows next, followed by another roller door, a large window, another office door opening at the end, a small brick insert under the window, 3 large brick inserts on the rear wall, windows and doors on the 2 panels that have them. And there we have it, all of the panels laid out with their inserts and 3D parts put in place. So at this point you actually now have a complete shopping list for this building. All of these panels have the part numbers, all of the inserts have their part numbers, and the doors and windows have their part numbers. So if you were to simply go starting at one end and look at this particular panel and write down all of those pieces and move on to the next and the next, and as you work your way around the building, you've now got all of the part numbers for all of the pieces that are used. The only thing that we've not put on this at this stage are these pilaster pieces, and the pilaster parts are what cover up the joints. So that's it, it's fairly simple. It's a little bit like working with Lego blocks. You put all the pieces together and you end up with a finished item. In this instance, although we haven't turned it into a mock-up at this stage, for some modelers that's maybe as far as I'll need to go. If you're building a layout and you're wanting to physically see how it all goes together, then the next step of course is turning it into a mock-up of a building and then placing it on your layout to see the physical relationship between its size and the rest of the layout itself. So I've now cut out all of the sheets and put them into tubs to organise them. So now I've got that stage done. I'll put those to one side and I'll start laying out what I'm going to do on the card. Okay, so there we have those all glued down in place. We'll just leave them dry for a few minutes and then we'll cut them out. So we now have our cardboard cut out with the panels all glued on, and we're at a point now where we can start to have a bit of a look to see if that's exactly what we're looking for. Now we have these little corner pieces that we've made up to allow you to stand your building together. So there we go. We have our building basically put together, all the sides, so you can see that it's, you know, a reasonable representation of what Michael's Freight Depot looks like. So these little clamps can be used to just hold it together so you can visualize exactly what it's going to look like before you glue it together, if that's what you're going to do. Or you can also use it to hold it in place while you run a bead of glue up there, and maybe cut out a little bit of a piece of cardboard to make a little gusset corner to hold it together. While they're in the flat stage, I'll pull it apart and I'll glue on all of the brick inserts next. So I've now glued all of the brick inserts and windows and pieces together, so I have largely a completed building. At this stage I would probably be now looking at cutting a piece of card to represent the roof and gluing the corners together, maybe put a couple of gussets in there so that it's nice and sturdy. And there you have it. You've got a mock-up of a building that you can place on your layout temporarily until you're ready to build it. This has been a relatively quick exercise. I'm going to go ahead now and make up the platforms to go in front of it. So as you can see, I've got half of the platforms done. I've done a corner one and a straight one. I've got a straight one to go here and a corner one to go there. I've cut a piece of card as a base. Okay, so this is the back side of the building, so I'll glue these pilasters on first. A couple of things about the pilasters. When you look at them, you'll notice that the longer section lines up for the top of the facade and the shorter section for the base. What the green line represents is the engraving line for that little extra bit of detail on the building itself. So I'll be gluing that on using the same technique as what I've done for everything else. And as you can see now, these dark grey sections represent where the model keys together, like so. And then your pilaster then sits over top of that to disguise that joint and to add that little extra bit of detail so that's going to be glued on there, and I just knocked the corner one off, and the corner one will sit like so. Now you need a pilaster for each panel, so this has 8 panels, so there's 8 pilaster sets that are required to put it together. That gives you an idea of what the finished building will look like and the size, etc. And as I said before, it gives you all your part numbers, so fairly quick and easy. So this is the start of putting together the design process for our second building, Slim's Warehouse. Now Slim's Warehouse is a background building or a flat, and if you're new to model railroading and you're not 100% certain what that is, it's basically a building that's largely just the facade or one of the walls. Could be a side wall, could be a front wall, could be a back wall. In this case, it is the openings to the railway. So it's a loading dock area that has a small platform in front of the wall and a series of 4 panels wide that will have roller doors in them, and the building will be 2 stories tall, having windows above it. What I've done to make the mock-up is I've cut the base off the top floor and I've cut the facade off the bottom floor, and they just simply sit together like that, and we repeat the process, and of course we put our 2-story quarter panel on the end, followed by a roller door and a window for the top floor. And so there we have it, a very simple little building. There'll be 4 stories wide, and from a kit point of view, the modeler who makes it will be able to choose to do a number of things. They could make it less panels wide, they could remove the quarter panels and have it straight at the back, or if they like that configuration, they can get additional panels to make it either longer, or they can get full width panels or half width panels to make it stick off the background further. So the whole purpose of the modular model building system is that it is modular. You can modify things, build it the way you want it, change it, the colours are your choices, the textures are your choices. So all of the processes that are involved in putting it together are made as simple as possible, but with as many options as possible to give you as much choice as possible. So there we go. That's the concept for this one. What I will do next is I'll glue these pieces together on some card and make a mock-up like I've done for Michael's freight depot. So I have a piece of cardboard. I've drawn a line across the bottom of it, and I've put one line at 90 degrees just to help with lining things up and getting it nice and square. And so what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to start at the base and work my way across, and then add the second floor on and the quarter panels to the ends. And then when they're all glued on, I'll then glue on the roller door and window. I'll cut the piece out and I'll put a score mark down the cardboard at the quarter panel point and fold it at 90 degrees and make some gussets up to hold it in place. So what I'll do now is I'll glue these pieces on and get it to that stage and show you where we're at. Okay, so we now have our panels glued to the cardboard. Our next task now is in fact just to simply cut this out and fold the end pieces, and we have the basic mock-up of the structure of the building itself. Now these openings, the D-size openings, when you get a panel you can pop out this particular piece. And you can either pop it out or you can just leave it there and glue it in place, and you can either fill in the gap or by popping it out it's a little bit of a closer fit, but at the same time you can also push it back in slightly to have it recessed like you would do with a brick panel to make it a more of an architectural feature. And there we have our flat. Now what we'll do is we'll score this end and bend it. So now I've got some of these little 3D printed corner pieces that I made up for holding the cardboard. There'll be a link in the video if you want some, but they're handy for holding things in place while you're gluing them. In this instance I'm going to need to glue the other end on, but they're also handy to sit the pieces together to show you what it's going to look like before you finally glue all the walls together. And there we go, a freestanding flat that can go up against your building, go up against the background of your layout. Next I'll make up the platforms that will go in front of each of the roller doors, and we'll put a piece in there for the top, and I'll get another piece of card to sit it on. Because the quarter panels are two-story, they came with two-story pilasters, and the pilaster piece is 5mm wide, and that's to go down the centre of each of these. So we need three 5mm wide ones, but we also need a slightly larger one for the corner, because basically what you'd be doing is you'd be gluing it on like so. And so what we've got, when you look at a sheet, you'll see that there's a black rectangle, which is the 5mm wide pilaster, but there's also an orange rectangle around the outside of it. And so what you do is you cut it to the orange rectangle size, and then that forms a piece wide enough to go on the end like so. And all you do to do that is just very carefully pinch it down that dotted line to get a fold line, and then open it back up. So I will go ahead and cut some 5mm wide ones for these three in the centre, and bend the other one to go on the end. Then I'll place this on that piece of cardboard for the base, and I'll stick the platforms in front of it. So here's the finished mock-up for Slim's warehouse. As you can see, we've now added the platforms, the pilasters, and we've even added a short version of the awning, similar to the one that was used on Michael's freight depot. So as you can see, that would be a great looking little flat that would go at the back of any layout, just to add that extra depth. So stay tuned, because shortly we'll be producing this as a kit, and there will be a video associated with that. So not long after we launched the Modular Model Building System, a master chocolatier, Eve in Sydney, contacted us and wanted a 6-story building. He downloaded the design environment that we had at the time, the design grids, had a play with them, and was a little bit stuck. And so he reached out to us a couple of weeks ago, just as we were starting to get towards the end of making the new Modular Model Building System templates that you can put together. And we talked about the building that he was looking for. Then he sent me an email, and basically he says, this is my best description: my 6-story building with a quarter panel recess, with 2 openings either side at the bottom that will have shop fronts on them, and a main doorway. And above that, on the first floor and above, he wants a balcony. I thought, okay, this is an interesting little exercise. Let's build something similar to what he's talking about, show it to him, and refine it from there. And so this is what we've done. And so now what we're going to do is basically finish the building off. This is a good example of how you can play around and change your mind and add different things to it. So all of these panels, all these main panels except for the quarter panel inserts, are all 6-story 2 opening panels. Now, after speaking to him about it, what he needs to have is a single opening at the bottom either side for the shop front, which means then above that it will be a 5-story panel. So that'll be the case on these. There's a different panel that goes in here for the main entrance, and I'll show you that shortly. On this side of the building, he wants it essentially to be brick inserts, because that's going to go up against some other factory, and he'll put some signs on the building, so there'll be no windows on this side of the building. On the other side, however, he wants to have a series of windows. And so because of the type of building he's going to have, and the fact that these are going to have balconies, so they'll have a 2-window opening and a door, and then a balcony sitting below that. And on the side of the building, what we're going to do is put the 3-window openings. And so they'll all have that same look about them as far as the brick panels are concerned. So these two panels will be in fact 6-story panels, but they'll be single opening panels to take that brick insert and the windows. The 5-story either side, on this side and this side, will be the 3-window, and in the centre will be the 2-window with the door. Now on the back we're going to put 3 windows on the top 2 floors on either side, and in the centre here we're going to have with the doorway, because we're going to have a fire escape running down the middle here. At the bottom, in this panel, we'll have a roller door and a small loading bay across there, so we're going to use the 1/4 width loading bay. And then on the last one, this one will have windows down so far, and then some brick inserts either side. So that's basically what we're going to do. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to place all of those on, change the panels, glue them all on, and I'll get to the point where I've got that done so I can show you what that looks like before we put the window parts etc. on. Okay, so now we have the A opening size on all of the front panel pieces, and the shop front size and the main entrance panel. So what I'll do next is I'm going to add some of the brick inserts so that you can see just what we're doing. Now actually, before we put the brick inserts in, let's work from the ground up, and we'll put in the shop fronts, and so you can see how the process is built up. The centre brick insert, going all the way up, is going to be the one with the door in it, 2 windows and a door. And there you have it, and I'll continue to do that for these 2 outer panels, the same, 3 windows, and for this one we'll go up with the windows with the door because that's going to have a little balcony. Okay, so now we have all of the inserts, the windows, doors, all glued into place. So you now have a good representation of what the facade of this building will look like. Okay, so there's the front, which you've already seen. However, I have put one of the railings on, and now the back has all of the panels complete. This is a new 3D part, the landing. It's the same style of landing as what's used on the fire escapes. So the fire escape landings will be used down the centre here. The base, we will have a 1/4 width platform. So that's basically the building. What I haven't done as yet is put the pilasters on. So I've now glued the pilaster pieces onto the building, and because it's a 6-storey building, I have used 6-storey pilasters. Now some of the panels are 6-storey, but some of the panels are 5-storey with a single-storey panel underneath. So on the sheets that you cut the panels out of, this is a single-storey panel, and there are single-storey pilasters. And you could join them together, but at the end of the day, it's easier to use the right size pilaster for the size of the building. So I would suggest that when you place the order, you place the order for 6-storey all the way around this building. And the other thing about pilasters that is important to understand is that we have both pilasters for full-size panels, half-size panels and quarter-size panels. And the difference between them is simply the trim for the top of the building. So the pilaster sheets not only come with the pilaster part itself, but they also come with a piece of card to go across the top of the building to put that capping on the top. And so this is the full-size pilaster, a half and a quarter, so you can see there's a bit of a difference, and the difference is these little sections that you glue onto the top of the building for the length. So obviously they need to be shorter for a quarter than what they do need to be for a half. So now the other thing to bear in mind is that when you're cutting up all of your pieces to put this together, like I said, we've used 6-storey panels, and of course they came with a 6-storey pilaster, but because we've used 5 and a single pilaster underneath, they would have come with 5 and a single-storey pilaster. So in addition to the pilaster pieces that come with the panels themselves, we also have pilaster sheets for those times where you need more of a larger pilaster, and so you can print those out and cut them. So that's a single-storey, there's a 3-storey pilaster, and the 2 make up a 6-storey pilaster. So you can download all of these from the website, and because I've used the 6-storey pilaster, well, I've got all the codes on here for the right pilasters to use, etc. Essentially what you need when you're ordering pilaster parts is one per panel. So across this face we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels. And so we'd be ordering a 6, a 6 and a 6, because this one would be from the side, and 2 quarter panel pilasters. So these ones would be, those 3 would be full-size pilasters, and these 2 would be quarter-size pilasters. So that's it for this building. I think it looks quite nice. Now, at the beginning of this video, I made the claim that this is the easiest way to design and build a mock-up of a building. And I really do believe that's the case. And here's why. It's just a series of simple steps. First up, you download our catalogue. The catalogue has a series of pages for the panels themselves, so you can choose the type of panel that you want to work with. It also includes the inserts, so you can choose the type of insert, whether it has a window in it as well or it's just a brick insert. The roller doors, the pilasters, the 3D parts, and of course the platforms, etc. It's that simple. You just simply have a look through that. You choose the panels that you want to work with and the inserts that go into those panels and the 3D parts, etc. Download those particular templates, and then you simply cut them out, organise them into maybe a few tubs or something like that, lay them out on a sheet. It doesn't even have to be a sheet of cardboard, it can be just on top of the table. Work out by moving them around the look and feel of the building, and then if you wish, you glue them to some card and assemble it into a mock-up building much like this or the others that you've seen on this video. And really, in a few hours, you can develop a building that's going to suit the needs of your layout and verify it's going to fit and that you're comfortable with it. And if you're still not sure, you can rest on it. You can let it sit and grow on you. And if you decide, like we did with this one, that it's not quite right, well, then you simply glue another piece over top, and you continue doing that until you're absolutely happy. So it is a fairly simple process. You don't need any really great skills to put this together. Now then, once you've done that, the modular model building system is designed for the average modeler in mind, even the beginner. The panels simply clip together, you glue them and paint them. So you couldn't really ask for a simpler system. But what's really cool about that is that the same processes are done over and over again for a lot of the buildings that you're going to need for your rollway. So it's a simple system, but it's a system once learnt. It's very repeatable over and over again. And with a little bit of imagination and doing a little bit of research, looking at a few photos, and so you can come up with quite a variety of buildings. And of course, we're always adding to the collection of panels and inserts and 3D parts to dress the buildings up. So stay in touch with us and let us know what your project is, and let's see if we can work out something. And like we've done for Eve and his TONTON chocolate factory. Okay, so it's now time to wrap this video up. So here's the incentive I mentioned at the beginning of the video. We're interested in seeing just how diverse you guys are and how you can come up with something a little bit different using our system. So this is what we're going to do. From now until mid-June, we're going to give you the opportunity to download and play with these panels and bits and pieces and design your own building and come up with something, not necessarily along these lines, but come up with something that you want for your rollway. Most important, what you want for your rollway. And then we'll get you to send us some photos, and we'll put the photos up on our website, and the customer base will then vote on those photos. And so the building that the customers feel is the best, that modeler will receive that as a custom kit free of charge. There'll be a few other little giveaways that we'll do at the same time, but essentially it's that is the competition. So we're all going to have a bit of fun with this. Now we'll be posting in the next week or so a page with all of the competition details. So this is a bit of a teaser at the moment. And for those of you who haven't yet subscribed to our newsletter, please do so, because we'll be talking about the competition in that as well. So I'm quite excited to see what type of building designs you guys can come up with using our modular model building system. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Chris, the modeler at ABR Modelworks. Have a great day modelling, and thanks for watching.